Yes, the show is Pardon My Fork. I am your host, Andy, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you for checking out the podcast. We've had a really good time making this whole thing happen, and we are coming up on 50 episodes. We are on episode 43 now, and I want to do something special on the 50. So I'd like for you guys to let me know what you'd like to see. Go out there, leave me a comment, write a review, let me know what you want for the 50th episode. I'm really looking forward to it. And honestly, I want it to be something big. I haven't quite decided what it's going to be yet, but I want it to be something fun, something out of the box, maybe something that we've done before, but we're just revisiting it. And that's why I want you guys to get involved and let me know what you would like to see. As far as today's episode is concerned, we are talking to the incredible KC Gonzalez. He's been a chef for a long time. He talks to me about all of the things he is doing, what he's up to, and giving us some really good insights on how to cook seafood. He throws down 2 or 3 recipes this episode, and I really appreciate that he was able to just bring that knowledge home. So you guys, please do enjoy this episode, and we'll catch you on the back end. KC, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man.
Thanks for coming on. We call you Chef Salty Pork, and I need to know where that comes from. But KC's got a show. It's called Chef's Meal, and he runs on Anchor.fm. He's real easy to find. We'll have links to all his stuff. But you do basically 2 shows a week, right?
Correct. Yeah, 2 shows a week. One on Mondays, where I call it Live in a Restaurant, where I talk with my sous chef on how our week started and ended. And then on Thursdays, where I interview other podcasters and kind of pick their brain on food, because I am food first to begin with.
Yes. Or if you're anything like me, you're food first, second, third, fourth, and seventh,
Absolutely.
12th. Yeah. And then your second show that you typically do every week is talking to, somebody else in the food world. You had me on, or you're going to have me on here in a couple of weeks, but who has been your favorite guest to have on? Let me put it that way.
Oh, there's so many. There was actually 2 things. One, whenever I can actually talk food with an actual person that knows food or has been in the business, it's always good to have perspective from them, because being in a restaurant and owning a restaurant, there's different processes and situations and procedures that they do that are way different than mine, because we're a corporate. So the chain of command comes way the heck up, and then, divvies down. We're 55 restaurants strong, and I'm one of 2 in the New Jersey area, but that's just how that command goes. So if you can tell, we get emails on the daily, like every hour on the minute, saying this is the new procedure, this is the new HACCP, this is the new process to cut this beef, or to store fish, or to ice product, etc. There's a lot of going on. But in terms of favorite podcasters, though, there's 3 of them. One, Dan, the culinary libertarian, amazing guy. He's out actually in Nevada. Cool dude. He's a baker, but he was once a chef also. So he turned, I don't want to say turned colors, but he turned coat. he became a baker. It's not necessarily less stress, but he finds a better joy, and can really, because he's like me. I don't like the word chef. For me, that's somebody that's already seasoned, like 60 years in the business, putting out content and just traveling, and then you're making all those recipes. That's to me chef, all on top of everything else. I don't have the bakery under me, so he has it. So when we talk, I feel like he's my brother. He's cool. The second one is actually you, like I mentioned, because I feel you're the only other podcast that I've spoken to that actually know how to cook meat, know about meat, know his wines. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. And we have a really great conversation that will be aired really soon. So I can't wait for your guests and your listeners to hear that. And then
my man, my check's in the mail to you, by the way.
And then third, I spoke to this woman in London. What an amazing woman. Wow. Talk about somebody that took her health in her efforts to better herself. So she even said it in a podcast. You know, she was struggling with her weight and her figure, and then she was like, you know what, it's time to put an end to this. I want to eat better. And then we spoke about her journey, the stuff that she ate, and how she maintains it, and just her attitude about it. It is so engrossing and so captivating. Plus the accent. I'm a sucker for accents, so I can just have her talk endlessly. It's so nice.
Yeah, open your mouth, make some noises come out, because that accent is beautiful.
Yeah, it is really cool. I appreciate her time, and you know, because of the time difference, I think she was like a half a day ahead of what I am. So yeah, it's just a little weird, but you know, really cool altogether.
Man, that's killer. I love when you meet people like that. And I love hearing those stories, too, about food changing people's lives, because it really does. We talk about it constantly on this show, but food is that universal language that we all speak. And by the way, going back to that young lady, you know, saying, I need to get myself in control, it's also the universal language that our body speaks. And I don't think enough people are really thinking of it that way. You know, that's why there's a million different diet books out there, and people always say none of them work. Well, that one that you tried, or two that you tried, those didn't work for you. But the reason why there's so many things out here is because every single person is different. Your bodies are all different. The same thing that worked for your friend or your spouse or your parent is not necessarily going to work for you.
That is correct. That is absolutely true. And everyone's different. Everyone has a different gene in their body that relates to the proteins that are being processed, and different other things that are happening in your body that's not the same per se to your mate. So you have to try almost everything to find out one and then stick to it.
Mm-hmm. I just remember when I talked to you, man, you had some thoughts about beef and dairy and milk, and I thought it was a unique perspective for someone in the culinary world to have.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, my number 2 ingredient in my restaurant is butter. Like there is butter and everything, and it's the main reason because 1, high content of fat. 2, it creams really well. 3, it gives a glisten to food. 4, it gives us a buffer to make sauces. And 5, it's that all around umami feel that we all kind of you miss when you have a sauce, and when you have a dish, or you need an extra added, not really necessarily flavor, you need an extra oomph. That's what butter is to the culinary word. So we use it with the band, and I think I pull in 70 to 100 pounds of butter on the weekend alone. 70 to 100 pounds of butter in a weekend, and maybe 150 for the whole week. That just tells you the amount of butter we use here. And that's like a normal consumption. We're just throwing it, like put butter in it. It's like, this is not, It's not thick enough, put a little more. Or you want to break it down ever so slightly, I need like maybe another half pound of butter in there just to mellow it out. So to have, when I mentioned to you, 90% of all people are dairy intolerant, because essentially, if you think about it, for humans, the mother's milk is only for her child, and it's for the child to consume, to grow. It's the same thing for the animals. Their milk is only supposed to be for their offsprings, no matter what species it is. So it's a hard thing. I try not to eat any more dairy because I get a stomach ache. Most people do get stomach aches, but they don't really pay attention to it. So I don't know. It's a tricky thing.
It is. And you know what? I actually agree with you. I don't disagree in a lot of those regards. I don't do a lot of butter myself. As a matter of fact, I try to do goat butter whenever I can. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the idea of going away from things that are so processed, and the idea that, you know, just because butter may not be as highly processed, I guess you might say, it's still coming from it's still coming from cows that maybe are not in the happiest circumstance. And so, free range, grass fed butter, buying local stuff like that. I really do feel like, it kind of felt like this hipster fad at first, but now the further we get into it, I think people are really starting to realize, oh, this stuff that I get locally that's made in a less processed way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is much better. The quality is there. I can taste it and I can tell when I cook it. Absolutely. It's like the difference between, grass-fed beef and a factory farm cattle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you could try to compare like to our prime 2% to Wagyu. And the people there in Japan they're so methodical when they were growing their cows, that they made sure that in the utmost importance that the animal felt the most joy it has and was fed the most, like, I don't want to say grass, but it had the privilege to eat a lot of great things to be put into their bodies so we can consume it afterwards. That's kind of the same in process that you were kind of mentioning.
It's a kind of an odd dichotomy when you think about it, because you're talking about the respect and proper care of an animal that then is going to slaughter and we're going to consume. But, that is just kind of the circle of life. We're omnivores, and we are, in a time right now in history where we don't have to hunt or gather. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting way of thinking. Like, okay, we've maybe gone a little bit too, in my eyes anyways, we've gone a little bit too far into the streamlining and the mechanizing of everything that has to do with farming. Let's start bringing it back a little bit. And I do like seeing that a little more out in the world, and it's starting to become a thing. I don't know how the laws are in New Jersey, but I was talking to a chef. He has a couple of barbecue restaurants, and he was telling me that I'm pretty sure it was in Illinois, farm to table in a restaurant is actually illegal. It needs to go through further steps and some processing and inspection.
It has to, because the U.S. needs to. Yep, the U.S. needs to, per law, and it's not really necessarily New Jersey. It's pretty much everywhere. The U.S. needs to at least have an approval on it, because any livestock or anything that you smoke or anything that we can keep and grow, they need to keep track of it for monetary sake. And that's literally all it is. In the same regards where I can't smoke meat, because that gives me an ordinance here in my restaurant, meaning I have to keep track of it and I have to report to the state how much I sold, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing with growing livestock. Even though it is farm to table technically, the U.S. still needs to know exactly, et cetera, A, B, and C.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know exactly what the laws are here in Oregon, but man, we do a lot of farm to table stuff. I mean, I can just go down to a person, 5 miles from me and buy one of their hogs. And when it's ready to butcher, I just take it to a butchery. I don't have any idea what the background is of the tracking. It's something I really need to look into. I think that I can say it's easier to do here than it is in other states, but I could be wrong. I need to look into that. We're getting a little in the weeds here. You are at the one and only and best, while we're at it, seafood restaurant in the Garden State Mall. And you guys, you're talking about 100 pounds of butter in a weekend. And so now we got to hear some of the stuff that you're putting that butter in, man.
So it goes in. Let's see if I can remember everything. All our sauces are 80% have cream or butter in it. We also sell lobsters because we are a premier fish restaurant. So lobster and butter kind of go hand in hand. We top butter pretty much on our sea casseroles, like seafood casseroles, that goes into the oven. Any crab cakes, the bottom, I like to give a little bit of a color, so adding just a smidget of butter on the hot sizzle pan right before you put it into the oven will give it that char kind of edge on the bottom that gives you a slight crunch that I truly enjoy. And then on the grill side, and you probably know this, any of your fillets or your steaks, or anything really that needs a little bit of butter is your best
Mm-hmm.
friend. So we use that quite a lot in the restaurant. So just in terms of butter, it's just a lot. It's like, where's my butter? That's like my main. It's my main issue when I go to a station. It's like, where's your butter? Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Did you prep your butter?
And how do you do with your menu? Is it pretty well set, or do you guys rotate through anything?
So we rotate every 2 to 3 months, just depending on the season. And on a weekly basis, I have control for the specials. So right now, I'm running a wild salmon with it's a grilled wild salmon with a crusted pistachios on it that goes into the oven, and then it gets served with wedged sweet potatoes that are seasoned with salt, pepper, a little bit of lime chili, which I am such a hipster about right now. Gets roasted radishes and a puree of celeriac right underneath.
Oh,
So that's what the main special is for the time being. And then it changes again next week. I'll have to make another menu. But right now we're in transition. We are getting a new raw bar menu. So I'm kind of working on that, how to execute it, make sure all my staff knows what's going to be happening. Because current raw bar, we have what we call treasures of the reef. And basically, it's if you either get a small or a large, it's a whole lobster that's chilled, 8 oysters that are, I want to say, restaurant specific. So our corporate buys I don't want to say buys a lot, but they buy a specific like time frame for that company that only we use it. So we're pretty like snazzy up in here. So this oyster you can only get from us. So that's what we sell on that platter. And then either top necks, which are the clams, or little necks, 8 pieces also, and 8 pieces of in-house made shrimp cocktail.
bro, this is not just like a fish fry place. You guys are doing some legit food.
Yeah, we're going bananas. We have a lot of stuff. I have mahi in house right now because it's in season. Halibut still going strong, so we still have it right now. But you will essentially find all the major hitters here: the tuna, the swordfish. We have haddock, we have cod, and right now a wild salmon is the actual fish that's in season. So we're getting a lot of it that's being current. And then I try to do half sushi stuff, but they're kind of prohibiting me because it's a lot of work, and I'm the only one that can do it.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't trust your sous chef to that?
I mean, and it's not like to what does that say? It's not like to profile any of my other staff, but I am the only one that had worked in an Asian environment per se. Like I know how to do sushi, I know how to roll stuff. None of my guys in here has any experience how to do that. So to kind of give it to somebody that don't know how to properly fold rice, which I know it's crazy, will mess up the dish entirely. So
Oh yeah,
if
yeah.
I'm in the building, I'll
Just
do
the
it.
cutting, just the cutting of the proteins too.
Just the cutting of the protein too, that will mess it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. You don't have time to do a comprehensive training for your staff.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying. Okay.
So if I'm in the building, I'll batch out like maybe 6 orders and I'll sell it as a premium sale. Like, hey, I have 6 orders of this. Let's push it out, and then that's it.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, because then people coming in know that if they want this certain thing, I mean, they really kind of have to be on the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they'll know I'm in the building. So it's like a tit for tat thing. It's like, oh, chef is here. He can do sushi. Or like, let me see how many orders left. So they know it.
I love that, man. And actually, I have just started exploring swordfish a little bit. I mean, I've cooked it from time to time, but I've gotten swordfish a couple times here in the, recent past, and I'm really liking it, and I'm really wanting to explore it more. Can you give us one of your ways that you put it together?
Absolutely. So one of my favorites, and it's a little weird. So if you take the swordfish, hopefully you can get it and stay cut. You're gonna cut it in half, and you're gonna watch how the protein lines go. So if it's going up and down, like if you're looking at the fillet and it's going up and down, you're gonna cut it horizontally, so the lines are up and down. Then you're gonna take your knife, you're gonna sashimi it, like nice just slices, not so thin. I want to say like quarter-inch slices. Rifle through all those, salt and pepper, and here's where's the kicker. You need to get a grill that's not necessarily hot, but I want the flames to be going up. So maybe just one side of your grill to be spiking and the rest are really just, mellowed out. You're going to take the said pieces. You're then going to, it's a process in Japan where you're not really grilling it. You're turning it every 10 seconds or so. You want to impart the flavor. And then as soon as it starts to congeal a little bit, then you put it away from the fire and let it cook the rest of the way. Once it comes out, hit it with a little lime, cilantro, and you are good to go. That's pretty much what we serve here. That's my other special, but that is quintessential swordfish. Now, they do say you want to cook it well done. Yes, you do, because any wild caught fish, which swordfish is, has potentially have more bacterias and allergens and bugs and stuff that they've ingested that you don't want to eat. But if you know that the purveyor that you're getting it from is that you trust them, then go on ahead and undercook it ever so slightly. I'm talking about 5 degrees shorter than what you would cook it. So if it's 145, I want you to cook it at 139, because by the time it hits to the table, or by the time you bring it to the table, it should be like 143-ish. And you should enjoy this really succulent fish. Swordfish is one of my favorite.
I love that. And so what you're talking about is not necessarily like pan frying it. Your way that you ideally would want someone to do their own swordfish is over a live fire. Over live fire.
Just I wish we had like a video option so I can send you a snippet of how I do it. If you take let's see what's the easiest way for you guys. If you take chopsticks and you stab the 2 ends, and then you put it on flame and you flip it every 5 seconds or so, and you start to get a little char. That's how I want you to cook it.
Isn't that called yakitori? Am I dreaming?
It's kind of yakitori. Yakitori is mostly in ball format, but this one you're just more for a fish way of cooking it.
I gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. Huh, that's really interesting, man. And you know what? I don't think it would be that difficult to do something like that.
I don't think so.
As a matter of fact, it would probably be easier still if you had a smaller, cheaper grill.
Yeah, that's most ideal if you have one of those little setup table ones, because I don't want a big grill because I can't control the flames, but on a small one, I can monitor it better, and that's where you would fan the flames, as they call it.
I love that, man. Huh.
Yeah, try it out and let me know how that goes. And then for a dipping sauce, if it does come up, because once you hit like 147, 149, the protein seizes up ever so slightly, just enough that you need a little sauce. So I'm going to give you one of my recipes for shoyu. I want you to take dark soy sauce, a little bit of sesame. I want you to spike it like a teaspoon of honey, red chili flakes, and then just enough pepper that you can taste it. Just keep on adding it till you can taste it. And then once you're good to go, that's your shoyu that you will dip your fish in, and that's an enjoyable meal right there.
That is fascinating. Wow, you are sharing some really good tips today. Woo!
Yeah, I'm sharing some knowledge. Yeah, I'm giving you some tips right now.
You know what? I think it's time for people to know a little bit more about your background here. We've already established you know what you're talking about. You are a chef. You have already demonstrated you know your way around food. How did you get your start, my friend?
When I was younger, my grandmother, and this is the whole reason why I wanted to cook. I think I was maybe 4 or 5. She took me by the arm and she's like, here, brought me to the kitchen, and she was like, mix these eggs. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, mix the eggs. So I'm mixing it, whisking it, or whatever, however I was doing. She's like, that's wrong. That's how you do it. And then from then, I just became my grandmother's hip. So wherever she went, wherever she did in the kitchen, I made it with her until to the point where I graduated, per se, and I was on a walk. And then I would do the fried rice. I would do the main dishes. And we're talking like 6, 7 years old, KC. Pumping out on a walk here, and if you think about it, the thing is bigger than me, but I can maneuver it quite well. So that's where I loved cooking right there and then. So, go through the paces. I came over here in the States in 97, and I was like,
Oh, that's right, because you were born in the
yeah, I was
Philippines,
born
right?
in the Philippines. Yeah. So when I was 12, I came over here, and the first show that I watched was Emeril Lagasse.
Yeah, with that big
Oh my
monster
God.
pepper grinder.
I love Emeril. Emeril was to me my guy. I wanted to be Emeril. I wanted to give that same passion that he was cooking. And from then I was like, you know what? I want to become a cook. And then after college, I finished the 2 years and I'm like, this is not helping me to be a cook. So after I think I was maybe 22. Yeah, I must maybe no. Yeah, 22. I already have 4 years of experience in restaurants. I was a dishwasher. I was a cleaner. I'm like, you know what? I want to go into a restaurant and just learn everything. And then from there, I quested everywhere. 3 years into an Asian restaurant, 3 years into an Italian restaurant, 5 years into not really fine dining, but I was the prep person. I was garde manger for a little bit. And then here in this restaurant, I worked the ranks from line cook all the way up to exec chef.
Man, you've been all over the place.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty normal though for people that are trying to be in the same kind of title.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I keep hearing from these folks that, not on my show, obviously, but I'll talk to these people where they're like, yeah, I went to culinary school and then I just went straight out and opened my own restaurant. And
Culinary school is a waste of time.
and nothing against those folks, but typically their restaurants are not ones that excite me all that much, if you know what I mean.
I get you. I have 4 cooks in here that went to culinary restaurants, and I still hear it every other week. It's like, oh, I'm still paying my student loans, and I'm like, you should have just went to the restaurant. Like, there's no need. Like, I could have taught you all of this. Like, it's not even a thing. You don't need you don't need the schooling for this. You're fine. Just go to the restaurant, learn it, really enjoy what you're doing, and then you will catch on everything.
And none of that's changed, I take it. Like, you're still of the feeling that just there's lots of opportunity for people to go into a restaurant, start as a dishwasher, but then if you prove that you're able to show up on time and work hard, they're going to move you up.
Absolutely. One of my dishwashers, actually, I just moved them to the line. So it's like he really wanted it. I keep seeing him over there on my fry side because that's the closest to the dishwasher. He's just like, hey, how do you make this? Hey, how do you do this? Hey, can you show it to me? And then he'll go on the dish. And I'm like, yo, he's going to be something. So now I'm training him on fry. And fry is not necessarily hard, but it's the fastest one in my restaurant. And it's the most volume because you need to push out apps first before your entrees. And there's a lot of portioning. There's a lot of cutting. And that gives you like bare bones on what we do at the restaurant. As soon as you get to know that, then I start moving you everywhere else because you have essentially all the level 1 skills, I should say, like the prep skills, the sifting, the sewing, the cutting. So yeah, and I don't go for the crazy terms. Yeah, not necessary. We're not French trained here. We don't need any of that.
Hey, that's good. That's good because I have talked to a few professional chefs that said, yeah, I worked under a guy that was French and had the French training, and oh, that was awful. I hated it.
It is awful because I'm just like, what do we need to Julienne or to Brunoise this thing? It's literally going in a stew. Like, wait. But I get it. Different processes for different people. Give you different results to what they can cater to. So for me, it does not necessarily matter so much. It matters more on how it tastes and how we present than the actual, processes that it gets to do it. But it's still good to know how to do it. So I will still teach how to do the classic training, but not so much so. I'd rather them focus on taste and presentation.
Well, yeah, because so many people get really hung up on the whole idea of it has to be done this way every single time. And I mean, listen, Consistency, man. That's good. You need consistency in a restaurant because you have to be able to prove to your clientele that you know how to make their favorite dishes over and over.
Exactly.
But being able to branch out and explore new flavors and new compositions, that's what cooking's all about, right?
That is exactly what it's all about. And just finding the off things that go with that thing that is essentially a cook. I will always tell my new hires, I was like, I don't care if you have 20 years experience or 1 year experience. If you show me that you want to learn and you really want to cook, I will show you everything hip to hip, and we will go through the process. But if you're 20 years in and you're just like, yeah, that's okay, I don't want you in my building.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's so valuable, man. It's so valuable to have people like you in that industry. You know, I get to talk to winemakers as well that have the same outlook on life. One of my favorite winemakers in the area, Jerry Sass from Sass Winery. I mean, he's been doing it since the early 90s, and it's incredible how many people he's kind of taught and helped get their own things going. And I really appreciate that about him, and I appreciate it about you too.
Well, thank you. But, you know, because we want to push out the best food and we want to push out the best taste. As long as it tastes good and it looks good, I don't really care how it became or how it was made. If it looked like my spec, we are good to go, you know? Because no matter what you do, there will always be shortcuts. There will always be habits that your cooks will have. But if we can get to the same end result, I'm game. Or maybe you teach me something that I don't know. Like you're doing it something faster than I can, and I get pissed off because I'm pretty sure I know how to do it faster. But if I learn something faster, then albeit, I'm like, this is his method. I learned it from him. And then people look at me like, wow, chef said he learned it from Steve.
But they got to understand, though, that's why you're chef. It's because before you were chef, you were looking at these people going, they are doing this thing better than I am, so I need to emulate them. And the reason why you're still chef is because you're seeing what these other people are doing and you're able to emulate them. So it's a very smart way to go. I think that is the death of a lot of restaurants, and not just restaurants, but chefs as well. I think that is a part of the whole burnout process, is kind of losing that ability to see what other people are doing and look outside of yourself and go, what can I learn from this?
Yeah, you always need to be learning. It's my number one motto. It's like, what can I learn today? Or how can I do this a little better? And even, it doesn't have to be a grandiose scale. It just needs to be one thing, like scooping, I don't know, mashed potatoes. How can I make this more efficient when I'm getting rocked? You know, do I do it with my left hand? Do I do it with my right hand? Do I scoop upwards, or do I sift? It's a lot of processes. Like if you think about it, and I'm being really anal about it. That's a lot of, you know, chefy terms that I'm pushing out into my brain. But essentially, how can I make it look the way I want to serve it in the least amount of time? And that's my struggle every day at the restaurant.
It sounds like you do pretty high volume, man.
Yeah, we're doing 75 to 90,000 a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're a $5 million company, or at least this location.
Dude, that is crazy. How many tops?
We're doing a lot of plates. And I'm not the busiest. There's another restaurant right next to me, Grand Lux Cafe. I can say that because I'm not part of them. They do 9 million because they have 400 seating. I only have 180, I think, in my restaurant. Yeah, 180.
Wow, that is still seriously impressive.
Yeah, we're pushing
What time in the morning? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying we're pushing out some meals. But what time in the morning? I get in at 7.
Okay, so nothing too crazy. You're there at 7. Hopefully you're not going home at midnight, though.
Like 9.
You know, it's a long day, but in chef's terms, especially when you're heading the whole thing up, yeah, I think you're okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. And most days I get out a little earlier. Sometimes, you know, it's the full shift. But it's not. It's okay. I only do like maybe, I don't know, 65, 72 hours a week. Most chefs I know are like 80, 95, and I'm like, that sounds horrible.
I know a few people that actually legitimately have the cots set up in their offices and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, I'm not sure I want to be living that life right now. But, you know, I always appreciate when people are able to do that. It sounds like you've been able to hook yourself up with a pretty decent company, though. And I like hearing that.
Yeah, we're not bad.
Do you anticipate ever striking off on your own?
Oh no, no, essentially, yeah. So my main goal, and as we kind of head into it, I want to make a ramen restaurant, and not just any ramen restaurant. I am Asian. I am Asian descent. I am part Chinese and Japanese, and a Spaniard also. But my love of cooking revolves in a bowl of soup, what we call ramen, and the way I cook is primarily Japanese style. So I want to make if I'll break it down in about 5 minutes. So I want not really a truck, but a restaurant small enough that I can push out like that. Three broths, one chicken, one veggie, one pork. I want to braise and roast my pork. I'd probably just send it off to a third party or something. As long as they're cooking it to my spec, that's fine. I want to make baos, which are the steam buns, live, like during shift, like they can see it. So it's like, oh my God, he's making it fresh. Noodles, I there's Chinatown right next to me over here in the city. I can probably just get like banger noodles without having to do all that effort because it's insane if you're gonna prep your own noodles. I don't even want to tackle that whole thing. And then essentially, if you've ever seen Japanese shows or something that they serve ramen, they give a bowl. They show you that it's in-house mix of soy sauce thing, like an ounce of it on the bottom of the bowl, and then they put their fixings on it, and like 16 ounces of soup goes right into it. While that's happening, you go ahead and cook your noodles, which take 35 to 45 minutes, depending on how toothy you want it. You put it into the bowl, and then you put your fixings around. And if I'm doing the math in my brain, I can push out a bowl in 4.5 minutes. So if we get like 100 people, I'll do it all in 40 minutes myself.
Mm-hmm. And that should be a pretty good profit as well. I mean, your profit margins, provided, everything can change that. But if you're doing it all yourself and you're just doing it in those rush times, that can be a pretty decent profit margin.
Yeah, there's an old diner here in New Jersey called White Manna. They are a burger joint. They've been here for like 50 years. It's the same location. It's a little hut in the middle of Hackensack, and all they do is burgers. That just tells you if you do it right, and if it tastes good, and if it's consistent, people will keep going to it. That's what I want to do. I want to make my ramen a staple. They're like, oh, Casey's ramen. It tastes good every day, the same day, or the same way every day. So that's the goal for me.
Mm-hmm. Going right back to that whole consistency thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that, man. And now, are you going to get me a spicy option? That's what I want to know, because I do like ramen, but I like my hot ramen, man.
Hey, man, I have a spicy miso version that I like to do, but the spicy comes from Szechuan peppercorns. If you've ever had the pleasure of working with Szechuan peppercorns, is a type of spice where it hits you fast, but then it dissipates really quick. And the Chinese use it to not really flavor their food, but to increase the appetite, because it's a quick hit, then it dissipates, and it makes your mouth water. It makes you want to eat more. And that's my favorite spice of all time. Szechuan peppercorns. I keep it in the house at stock at all times, like my go-to. Instead of butter, it's Szechuan peppercorns at the house. So I have a spicy miso version with it, and I think it's going to be a hit. Well, most Japanese restaurants have it too, but I think I can do it better.
Man, you're making me want to run out and get some Szechuan peppercorns. I have not cooked with those in a hot minute, dude.
It is so good.
Have you ever considered doing a soft-boiled duck egg instead of a chicken egg in your ramen? Absolutely.
Only because I love the duck better than I do the chicken. And I think I might want to do Peking duck too. I don't know just yet, but it's my all-time favorite preparation for birds. Just that slow roasted, just the juices coming out of it. It's like steamed and stuffed and then in the oven and then roasted. There's just so much preparation that goes into this duck. And they sell it like $7 a piece at the Asian market. I still can't wrap my head around it. They're like, here you go, $7. but they churn through duck like crazy, and it's so good.
I think that's the only way you can really make it work is if you're making 1,000 ducks a day. You know what I mean?
But man, if you say duck, I'm there. It's that same thing where you said pork, I'm there. So duck and pork for me is a win-win.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's awesome, man. Wow. A ramen cart. Okay. All right. I'm down. I'm with it. You seem like the kind of guy to me where I could really see after your ramen cart gets going, you'd start with like a tow behind smoker in the back. You seem like that kind of cook to me.
I really do. Like I keep telling my mom, I was like, babe, I'm going to do everything. Like I don't want to hire other people. Granted, she works in the medical field. I want to say she's a surgical tech. If anything, I just need like a teller, somebody on, to handle the cash, but the rest I can do myself because it's easy.
Yeah. It's easy. It's just time consuming is the thing.
It's just time consuming. Exactly.
Because the more I talk to you, Casey, I'm just kind of envisioning like this. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. Please just try to keep an open mind, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A barbecue ramen bowl.
Ooh.
And so what I'm kind of seeing in my mind is like a hot smoked grilled pork loin slice, your duck egg cut in half, one smoked rib sticking out, maybe a little bit of shredded brisket. I don't know how you feel about brisket or thin sliced brisket, maybe even, you know what? Maybe even a spicy chicken wing sticking out of the side too.
Oh, I dig it. I dig.
I'm looking at this thinking it's kind of like those loaded Bloody Marys, right? You can go totally over the top with a loaded Bloody Mary, and there's alcohol involved, so it seems a little bit more acceptable. But I am honestly thinking if you had one of those not super deep dishes, I mean, imagine like a shallow bowl with a flat rim around it, and you just loaded it up with all of your barbecue accoutrements around this bowl of noodles.
No, it sounds good. I can actually, just to slightly kind of, let's say, accommodate for it, I would do a cold noodle preparation, like a stir-fried cold noodle preparation to kind of give it like a coleslaw feel for those beautiful pieces of, meat that's going to be arranged around it. But, we'll work on the menu when we get to it.
That's genius, man. That's genius. Little bit of lime chili salt on top.
No, but if you do get the time though, take some limes, get the rind off of it ever so slightly, get some salt, and here's the kicker: you need to cook the rinds like quickly. So if you put the salt in the pan, heat it up until it's not fuming, but give it like 40 seconds where you can feel the pan start to bite back. I don't know how to explain it in layman terms, but the pan is essentially smooth, but when you cook salt on it or any dry ingredients, in like 30 seconds or so, it starts to not stick, but you will feel the items get coarse in it. That's when you pull it out. You stick the rinds in, and you just kind of keep doing that until it cooks out ever so slightly. Cool it off. There's your lime salt right there, and then you can add whatever else on top of it, which is the chili lime. And that's my preparation for it.
Well, I'm going to have to try that now. And if I can swing it, I'm actually going to try doing it over a live fire and see if I can get a little bit of that smoke infused into it too.
Get that smoke in there.
That's right, buddy. Hey, life is better with a little smoke and char. Am I right?
It really is.
That's right. Hey, I cannot thank you enough for talking to us, Casey. Tell folks one more time where they can find your show.
Absolutely. So you can find my show at Chef Salty Pork pretty much everywhere where all podcasts can be heard. We present on Monday where my buddy Sean and I, the sous chef, we explain how our week goes. And then on Thursdays where you actually hear Andy here in about a couple weeks, our interview. And that is I call it the bonus special on our podcast. So Chef Salty Pork, everywhere you can find podcasts. And then if you do want to check out YouTube also, Pork and Wine, that's my main one. And you can see my face.
I love it, man. Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you.
Well, that was such a good time. It's always good talking to him. I like his show. Really appreciated being on his, and I appreciated him coming on my show as well. He is a wealth of knowledge and just a lot of fun to talk to, obviously. I'm sure you could tell. And I always appreciate being able to talk to anyone like him, anyone in the food biz. And that's pretty much everyone we have on this show. They're in the food biz, they're in food competition, they're doing foodie things. And that's what I love about this show. And speaking of, I should let you guys know that in about 6 weeks, That's what I'm thinking, about 6 weeks. We're going to have an all-new show. I had a preliminary name of Small Batch Podcast. I don't think that's quite what we're going to call it anymore, but I'm working on something like that. And you all are going to be the first to know about it, of course. But we have already got an incredible lineup of guests. The director of matured stocks from Ardbeg, the owners of Spiritopia, Vivacity, Aria Gin, Vin Distilling, so many more. That's just the beginning lineup. That show is going to be huge, and it's going to meet all of your drink and libation needs. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, stay tuned to Pardon My Fork. Again, that Big 50 is coming up. Let me know what you guys would like to hear or see, and we will get right on it. So thank you for doing that. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for telling a friend. For KC, this is Andy, and we will see you next time.